Hi, Rathi.
Hi Komal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
How's your quarantine going?
It's been good actually. Can't complain. I get to spend more time with Friday with my dog, by the way, and get to eat without spending a lot of money. So always a treat.
Let's get to it then. So, what are you currently pursuing?
I am currently working with JP Morgan as a quant research analyst. It's been almost, or actually more than a year now. Uh, and my job is mainly to try to make an already rich firm a lot more money, and work with regulators in general to ensure that while we do make money, we don't do anything shady. So that's kind of the gist of it.
What exactly does your firm do, and what do you do? Like, what is your job?
So I'm within the market risk team, which, as the name suggests, right? Markets are very volatile, and when the firm tries to trade within these markets, there's a chance that they lose a lot of money. So regulators kind of help to ensure that the bank doesn't go crazy, especially as large as JP Morgan, right? So my usual tasks are to work with the regulators, to work with the internal teams, to work with the front office, which is the desk, which essentially trades in these products, uh, to ensure that nothing bad happens and nothing crazy happens. And I'm focused on something called securitized products, which is essentially the products which caused the entire financial meltdown 12 to 13 years ago, 2007 financial crisis. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a good learning experience, especially ever since the COVID thing started. The markets have been or were extremely volatile, right? So a lot of new things have happened. So I'm having fun as of now.
So, how did you decide to get into this field, say finance in general, and then the particular niche that you eventually got into?
Sure. So I mean, it should have been that way. It should have been like, okay, finance as a whole is extremely interesting to me, and okay, let's figure out a niche area. Just may I want to do good, or just may I want to build a career. But for me, essentially, it didn't pan out that way. I was someone who simply wanted to do something that was able to help me make money, right? I mean, that was my major motivation. And I mean, I've always been ambitious in terms of not just making money, but in terms of like doing good things in terms of, I don't know, uh, a better job, a better career, whatever. So I just uh, tried to dabble into options that I had, uh, and I started reading about financial risk uh, early in my second year. Uh, Gave an exam, figured out that this is interesting, and I was good at it. Kind of capitalized on it. So it was top-down approach ke jagah, it was more of a bottom-up, if I use those terms correctly. But yeah, essentially, I started with an exam called FRM. Thought that it was fun to study this, and then kind of worked my way up.
How did you decide to give the FRM? Not giving an FRM is a lot of commitment, right? There is a fees to give the examination. There's a lot of time required to read up the material. So, how did you square in on
Again,
that?
in hindsight, I wish I was more informed in terms of, because I remember, right, when I went into the exam hall, I was easily the youngest person there. FRM was not a thing in Roorkee as far as I remember. I don't know of any seniors who gave the FRM exam. CFA was very common, is very common, and FRM is also starting to create a buzz. But the two reasons that I gave FRM was, number one, exams give you kind of a structured way to learn. I didn't want to do the entire course kar leta hai, fir kuch random 101 course, then try to get a project under a prof. I don't thrive under chaos, especially of the kind where it is what would define your career, right? Because 4 years is a limited amount of time. So I wanted to do something structured because I know that I kind of know that acha, wo mera strength hai. That's why I registered for FRM, number one. Number two, CFA does not allow you to register unless you're in your final year. Yeah, you have graduated. So to start early, FRM was one option. So I kind of did that.
So, so in your first year, did you like explore something else apart from finance, or you directly were interested in finance?
Yeah. I started my own thing. I started a small startup for t-shirts and notebooks. we called it parallel because notebooks ke line parallel hota hai, and I thought it was a cool word. And then we started to try to sell t-shirts as well. We sold a grand total of 0 notebooks and 1 t-shirt. And we kind of had to go to that person who ordered that 1 t-shirt and thank him and refund his $300. But yeah, so that's when I realized, okay, entrepreneurship is cool and it's fun, but it's not for people who just want to do something messy on their whim. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to change my branch in my first semester, and I wanted to write. Those are the two things I knew I could do, and I wanted to play basketball. I've been playing basketball since I was a kid. So I joined the NSO thing. I realized कि bro मेरे को asthma है and ये लोग पागल कर देते हैं इंटर-आईटी के नाम पे, so that's not for me. I joined Watch Out because I wanted to write, and after I changed my branch to PNI, I thought कि ठीक है आप कुछ cool करते हैं, which is where the startup thing started.
What was your initial branch? I didn't know you had a different branch in your first year.
Oh, I was in metallurgy. It is the stomping ground for people who want to change their branch. So I remember out of the 104 odd students that we had, 15 of us changed our major from meta to something else. But yeah, that's what I did in my first year. Then I quickly realized कि नहीं मुझे structure चाहिए, मुझे chaos नहीं चाहिए. Where FRM came into the picture.
How was your journey with Watch Out been like? Like I know it was very integral to your life.
Dude, Watch Out was I mean, look, I obviously struggled with making friends early in my first year simply because मुझे में बहुत ज़्यादा energy थी, and I know I kind of tire people out just by trying to be energetic. And in general, after changing my branch, right, I kind of had the first 6 months are the most important in terms of making friends. So I had a huge group of friends, and I changed my branch. I stopped going to classes with them. I stopped kind of hanging out with them as much simply because, circumstances. So in the first year, it was kind of weird, obviously, because I had to kind of make a whole new group of friends. Watch Out helped with that, definitely. I wasn't as active in Watch Out in my first year simply because, number one, I wanted to change my branch, and number two, I wanted to do the t-shirt wala gig. But yeah, I started being more active towards my second year. I really enjoyed the company. I mean, a lot of my seniors from Watch Out, I'm still in touch with them, mostly to get some advice or just kind of make fun of whatever is happening in the campus, right? I'm thinking कि यार इसके बारे में कितना fun article लिख सकते थे हम. But Watch Out was mainly, I mean, it kind of helped me ensure that the community that I was in, which was on an 8,000, 9,000 people huge community, I was able to kind of write about it. I was able to kind of try to make some change into it and have fun while I'm doing that, right? So that was kind of the entire idea of Watch Out for me.
So, you've been like I'll come back to your career path, but let's just talk about your life in college first. Like, you've been very vocal about mental health. Like, I remember back in my second year, I read a blog by you, which spoke about things like being amidst people who are equally talented as you are, a lot more talented as you are, trying in bed at night, have anxiety and all of those things. And then recently, I remember reading a gratitude post on Instagram. So you've been very vocal about it. So would you want to talk about that, your whole journey?
Sure. I mean, so like I mentioned, right, in my first year, I honestly never wanted to be someone who joins a university so very far from home. I've always been extremely emotional. I've wanted to stay close to my family. I wanted to kind of early on, as ambitious as I was, I didn't really want to get into an IIT. Like, I know out of the 1,000 people who join an IIT every year, most of them, unke liye, it's kind of like a childhood thing, at least if not for them, for their families, right? Ki, theek hai, IIT jayenge. And I didn't have that kind of enthusiasm and excitement about getting into this place. So I don't know, I always felt like I didn't belong there, especially in my first year, right? And which is why I kept looking for distractions. And I mean, nobody cares about their branch. And I knew that I was smart enough to know that I had friends who were senior to me, who knew that कि अच्छा ठीक है meta PNI biotech, it doesn't really matter as long as you know what you want to do. Transience was a distraction, right? I mean, I kept myself busy just to ensure कि I'm, I don't know, in general, I'm not, I don't feel like a misfit here. And then that kind of translated into me being ambitious, that in a way that everything that I wanted to do, I wanted to do it well. So, like I mentioned, right, the second semester failing at the startup, I took it hard. Uh, and I got extremely depressed, and I'm like, yeah, मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, I'm no good, whatever. And this, in hindsight, feels stupid because, I mean, it was a stupid idea, and it shouldn't really have affected me as much. But then that obviously, that kind of cascades into bigger things slowly. Uh, I mean, especially in a place like Roorkee where everybody is insanely competitive and insanely ambitious, to kind of separate yourself from everyone is extremely difficult. And you need to have a right mindset, you need to have a right temperament to understand that ups and downs are a part of life. But at the end of the day, I was a 17, 18-year-old who got into a place which is 2,000, 3,000 miles away from my home. And I hardly ever had a chance to speak to my parents about, all of these struggles, because it feels like वो इतने दूर है, क्या ही कर लेंगे. So, I mean, it started very trivially. It started in general because I wanted to do good things, but I didn't know how to do them. Or even if I wanted to do them, I don't know. I was very, very confused. And, as time went by, I started looking for ways to distract myself in terms of hunting for the next best internship or the next best campus group, or uh, getting into different competitions and conferences. And I kept myself very busy at that. At the same time, I knew, right, anything goes wrong, I have a very tough time kind of recovering from it. That kind of developed a lot of, I don't know, fear in me. And that fear kept translating into anxiety attacks, into panic attacks, into not being able to sleep at night for 2, 3, 4 days straight. And then it started to have physical ramifications, right? And obviously, now that I think of it, it seems like the solution was simple. Just get mentally strong enough to deal with the ups and downs. But
easy थोड़ी होता है.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're in a place like Roorkee where almost every semester we had a story of a suicide, we had a story of people struggling with their mental health, we had a story of, having new counselors and people having bad experiences with counselors. You kind of start to let it rub off on you. Obviously, if it was a more positive environment where, I mean, it's not easy to tell someone that the environment was bad, which is why I struggled. I know for a fact that I have a lot of anger issues. I get very, very agitated very, very quickly, not just with people, but at situations in general, right? I'm extremely volatile, again, in terms of people, in terms of situations. So in general, small things accumulate. Okay, they just get crazy. So yeah, that kind of was how I started having these issues, right? I started struggling with anxiety attacks randomly out of nowhere. I'm in a class, I'm not paying attention, and then suddenly I snap out of it. I start paying attention and I realize कि अरे ये course का मुझे कुछ नहीं समझ रहा है, and I feel like throwing up. I feel weird in my stomach. I want to run to the washroom and throw up. And again, in hindsight, it seems like yeah, एक course है, 10 की जगह 8 लगेगी, 6 लगेगी, whatever. At that moment, oh my God, I'm going to fail. I'm going to bring a lot of shame to my family, who doesn't even know कि ये course exists. But that's how things happen, right? And that was the start. Then when it came to the high stakes game of placements, that's when things got really bad, right? I mean, look, what you need to understand is Roorkee is obviously a huge place with a lot of people, and most of them are your friends, right? You know most of them, and you know ki you get this person who's I mean as good as me, as smart as me, as young as me. He's going through the same problems that I am. So it's easy to normalize. Ki, haan, theek hai, so he's also depressed. So it's okay. It's cool. But I mean, what's important to realize is that even though everyone has the same diet, some of us might be allergic to peanuts, some of us might be allergic to, I don't know, milk. So people obviously take things differently, right? So uh, I was too naive to know that. I tried to fight it. Things got really worse, and by the time the placements came, I was a nervous wreck, right? And I knew I was smart enough. I knew I was good enough, but so was everyone else, right? So uh, yeah, so that's kind of been my struggle with mental health throughout college. I mean, obviously, I'm not being too specific. There were a lot of things that happened, right? Issues with my family, issues with relationships, issues with simply, uh, you know, having those physical ramifications show up. Issues with not being able to sleep or eat perfectly, uh, and things get worse very quickly when you're in a place where mental health is normalized as much as it was back in my first, second, third year. So, I mean, yeah,
Did it help you come out stronger now? Now do you know how to cope with things better, or are you
not really. I mean, look, it's not like I mean, I know that mental health is associated. I mean, people are trying to mention कि अरे तुमको अगर headache है तो तुम गोली लोगे ना तो फिर why don't you fight mental health also? It's simple, right? If I have a headache and you have a headache, हम दोनों एक type का pill लेके we can be better. Like एक Combiflam लेगी तू, you will feel better. So will I. So will everybody else who, I mean, 8 out of 10 people are going to. There's no one rule to kind of get over things that affect you. And which is why this is what I was trying to do, right? I was trying to kind of, okay, I'm feeling bummed out. It's okay. Let's just watch a couple of episodes of Office or whatever is hot right now on Netflix. An hour later, I'm going to feel better. I'll just take a shower. I'll probably sleep the day पूरा अच्छे से. I started taking sleep aid a lot, and then I started abusing it for a while. And then it then you kind of understand, okay, you need to step back and uh, figure out what else you can do. While in college, my simple medicine was कि ठीक है, अच्छा एक intern लग जाएगी, I'll feel better. एक job लग जाएगा, I'll feel better. And easily getting into JP Morgan was the biggest accomplishment for me because it was the first time JP Morgan was visiting the campus. Nobody had any idea how they're going to test people. Nobody had any idea of how सब लोग वही था कि कोड कर लोगे तो हो जाएगा. I had never written a line of code until my fourth year, right? Except वो C++ का class in the first time, which is useless. So obviously, getting into a firm like this, being someone who was extremely passionate about finance and who ensured कि हाँ ठीक है, even if I'm taking an offbeat way, I'm getting where I want to. That was a good boost for me, or should have been a good boost for me, right? But 4-2 again, I struggle with the same issues just because of different things, right? So, like I mentioned, uh, sometimes your family is not doing well, sometimes your relationships are not doing well, sometimes everything is going well, and you just are scared कि अच्छा, what's going to be the next domino that kind of falls, and yeah, so that's what my remedy was in college. कि ठीक है, पहले जेनरिक चीजें करता है, टीवी शोज देखता है, नहा लेता है, सुबह उठ के ब्रेकफास्ट कर लेता है. Then it moved on to ठीक है, achievements. Let's checklist बना लेते हैं कि ठीक है, I need to apply to certain colleges, I need to get into a good job. Once I have the financial security, once I have the success वाला thing कि ठीक है, I did what I was supposed to do when I got here, which is get out with a good, respectable job. At least in my head, ठीक है, I'll be good. But it wasn't that way, right? I mean, even in a place where within a 1 kilometer radius you have hundreds of friends, I was struggling, right? And when it came to being in a city as huge as Mumbai, without a lot of friends,
Struggles get
without
worse.
a, it does get worse, right? And I mean, again, Roorkee mein, think about everything I said, right? Generic remedies did not work. The achievements wala thing, it worked for a while, but it soon fades away. Uh, what next? I mean,
Did you
first of
try
all,
talking
when
to
you get,
people? I'm just asking, did you try talking to people?
yeah. I mean, I'm getting there, right? I try to talk to a lot of my friends, but like I mentioned in the blog, you kind of quoted me from. Everybody is going through the same thing. I mean, I remember a lot of my close friends. I've had a chance to sit with them during the placement season, um, and just cry it out, in front of KB, in front of SAC, in front of, I can name every single place I've cried in the campus. Seventh floor of Rajiv Bhavan, where my room was. At the end of the day, all they can say is, चल ना ठीक है ना मेरे साथ भी अरे उसको देखा है उसका भी इसको देखा है. So again, it's normalized and it becomes worse for you because you start thinking that, okay, I'm wrong because I'm not mentally strong enough and everybody else is and everybody is going through the same thing. So I should be better. But that is not what it was, right?
That is
That is not
increased
how it
pressure.
should be.
Yes, that is increased pressure.
Right. So, I mean, talking to people, especially my friends, didn't help. Uh, Again, talking to my family, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to them, but it's going to be generic issues, right? Arey, theek hai, get your life in order, naha breakfast kar, all of those things again. So then and the second thing that I mentioned, right, having a checklist of achievements. Roorkee mein it's quicker, right? Every semester you have an internship to look forward to, a new group to look forward to. ठीक है, watch out का chief head है, you have a new magazine to publish, SMP start हो रहा है, you need to ensure that all the mentees are happy and nobody is going through the same thing that I'm going through as a first year, right? There's a lot of things going on. When it comes to your job, there's only one thing that is going on mainly in your life, right? 50% of the time you're sleeping, 50% of the time you're either working or commuting to work. So, वो भी नहीं था. There's no checklists anymore, right? There's small deliverables of projects that you could care less about. And the major worry that I had was ensuring कि अरे I'm beating the traffic in Mumbai and अरे बारिश तो नहीं है and all of those things. And there wasn't a lot of material thing to look forward to in terms of my, I mean, obviously I was extremely excited to be at the job or whatever, but you can't check a job off, right? At least during the time you're there. So yeah, and then I kind of got lonely and then it got worse. I was hoping that it wouldn't because yeah, now I have enough money, so I can probably go out and enjoy my life and distract myself. Doesn't work that way again. So starting 2020, I kind of took a resolution after a lot of push from my friends. Everybody that I was around kind of encouraged me to do just try therapy, right? And I wasn't a huge fan of it simply because one, I was naive. Two, I thought it wouldn't be a smart idea simply to tell my parents that, by the way, I'm depressed and I want to kind of try therapy because it's still, I mean,
They get worried.
yeah, I mean, but that does make it a little difficult, right? I mean,
Yes.
think again, to draw a lot of parallels to your physical health and a visit to your hospital. Can you imagine? I mean, going to a place where you know that you're terribly ill all by yourself, having a 1 hour, 50 minutes, whatever it is, treatment, and coming back all alone. It's extremely difficult, right? So that was another challenge. Dude, I'm not going to do this all by myself, especially when I'm all alone, right? And this obviously uh, was what went through my mind during the second half of 2019 after I graduated. This was the time where most of my friends who were juniors to me, they were all busy with their placements. Uh, my girlfriend was not in the country, so we had to worry about 3.5, 4.5, whatever it is, our difference. And even when we did talk, I didn't want to obviously talk to her about, oh, by the way, I'm depressed. So what's up with you? So, I got lonelier, and then that's when everybody started to be like, "Acha, dude, let's just do this, right? Do this once." So that is what my resolution for 2020 was. Ki, theek hai, I'm going to try therapy. And I also didn't tell my parents at first. I thought, ki, theek hai, let's just go to a couple of sessions. If it is not my cup of tea, I won't even do it, right? So why bother? I didn't tell anyone. I went for one session, and I cannot tell you how much better I felt when I left. I was extremely nervous. I was extremely scared. I remember metro station where I was just standing, and I was like, "Nahi jata, chhod." Okay. I can swear, right? I'm sorry. This is the longest I've gone without swearing when I'm talking to someone from Roorkee, so I'm happy. But, yeah. Anyway, going back, right? I was at the metro station. I wanted to leave, ride back, go home, and decide कि ठीक है फिर से वो breakfast नहा लेते हैं सुबह उठ के अच्छे से let's try that treatment, maybe it works. uh, but then I was like ठीक है might as well do this, right? And again, I haven't felt better about anything that ends in 50 minutes uh, as much as I did after the uh, therapy session, right? So yeah, I mean that is when I kind of when I spoke to my therapist the first time, and I was like, "ठीक है, चलो, I'll see you. I enjoyed this. I think this is helpful. I'll see you maybe 15 days later." And she was like, "Bro, you definitely have to come at least twice a week because you need some help, right?" So that's when it hit me, right? कि ठीक है, okay, now finally someone is giving me some treatment based on myself. I might as well follow it. So yeah, commuting within Mumbai, which is a huge challenge, going to therapy, going back to work. I took it as a challenge. That's what I spent the first quarter of 2020 doing. And I planned on doing it continuously before the world stopped, thanks to the virus. But yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, right? If I didn't do this, I would be a huge mess right now, given that I'm stuck at home. I don't have anything to look forward to except, like I said at the very start, living the same day over and over again until it's the weekend. And to be very honest, I was kind of living the same day even on weekends early in March and April because I was working because of the entire
market volatility and all of those things.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I know that, I mean, going through a long distance relationship again, going through having to work 7 days a week again, having to stay at home all the time. Those are all my triggers, right? I mean, I'm someone who's extremely high on energy. I want to do things. I want to be somewhere. I want to just have fun. You've seen me in watch out meetings, and you've seen me just hang around in campus, right? I just walk for the sake of it. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, right, therapy helped me get way better. So,
Why do you think
and this is the first time.
You complete then and ask this.
Sorry, yeah, go on. I was just digressing. I wanted something to kind of pull me back on track. So a question might help.
No, I was just saying that a lot of people are skeptical about therapy the way you were. Okay, I remember, I know people who are skeptical about therapy. So, why do you think therapy works? Like, what is that one reason? Because that person does not even know you personally. If within 15 minutes, what is it that happens inside that room?
Right. I mean, look, I agree with all of those points, right? The person doesn't know you. The person has only 50 minutes, and you'll be probably better off talking to your friends. That's what I felt as well, because my friends have known me for 10, 12, 15, 20 years. Versus 50 minutes, it's a huge difference. One thing that we always discount is the fact that these guys are educated for 5 years in trying to read people's mental health and in trying to understand what they're going through. And they've seen people like you, and they have kind of tested methods to help you get better. and that definitely shows up when you go to an experienced professional, right? I mean, you talk to someone who knows. I mean, just a quick example, right? If you go to a doctor and you say, "Ki, uh, I don't know, my stomach is aching and I have a weird pain in my heart," wala area, they're going to say, "Okay, there's acidity or whatever." So they know symptoms translate to some issue. So when I go to uh, an experienced professional and I tell them, "Kya cha ye situation mein my knees get weak and I can't stand straight and I have blackouts and I feel like throwing up and I don't know whatever other symptoms that I have." Person is going to say, "Okay, these are like classical symptoms of I don't know some medical fancy term to say तुझे घबराहट हो रही है," and that person is going to help you understand कि अच्छा, have you tried this, have you tried that, have you tried, and those suggestions are not going to be as generic as the ones you find on Google or the ones that you find with you know conversations with your friends or your parents. So that is one thing that definitely helps. They're educated. They have spent a lot of their lives trying to learn these things. And number two, again, never try to fix yourself uh, without any help was the very start of what I kind of wanted to do, right? I mean, it wasn't an experienced therapist, but it was friends, it was parents, it was trying to, I don't know, outlet hona chahiye, right? Even if it was through blogs, right? I was trying to seek help. I was trying to ensure that my voice is heard. I was trying to ensure that, okay, someone comments on my post saying, ki, bro, I felt the same way. This is what I did. And a lot of people did that. A lot of people texted me later after I published the thing on Instagram, after I put up the blog post. Ki, uh, hey, a mutual friend, both of us know very well. Even he kind of texted me, ki, अच्छा ये तूने try किया है क्या? या have you tried therapy? या have you tried this new meditation thing that's hot right now or whatever? But again, they're speaking from second-hand experience, and
they may be allergic to peanuts and you're allergic to milk.
exactly. So that's kind of what it is. Uh, yeah, I mean that's kind of where the entire uh, seeking help was extremely important for my betterment in terms of, and I'm being very honest, I'm not nowhere close to being the ultra cool unaffected person that I'm trying to come off as. But uh, you know for the last 4 months I've not had a chance to go to therapy, obviously, and I don't want to do the phone therapy that my my therapist is kind of recommending constantly. But I do have a chat with her a couple of times, and I tell her, ki, dude, it's been better, or dude, I don't know, a lot of my teammates have moved to different roles, and I have a lot of work right now, and I'm not sure if I can cope. Simple things like that. I can simply text her, and I don't know, we have a quick chat, and it helps, right? Because the first thing that they say is usually better than the last thing your friend might say. So yeah, it definitely helps having someone who knows the entire profession of mental health better than you do.
I just want to put up a disclaimer here before we continue. Me
Sure.
or Rathi are in no ways experts on this. He's just sharing his experience so that there are other people who've gone through this. Okay, there are a lot of people who've gone through a lot of different things, and it's just a way of sharing companionship. It's just a way of telling you that there are other people who have been there.
We should have started with this, no? I mean,
Yes.
15
Yes.
मिनट में किसी ने बंद करके ऐसे like oh मैं therapy कर रहा हूँ, next thing you know.
I don't think किसी ने ऐसा सोचा होगा, but then it's important for people to know that this is not the only way out. You'll have to think for yourself and you'll have to talk to people, and it's a tough road.
Definitely.
It's a very tough road. It takes time.
Like I mentioned, right? There's no one size fits all within the this particular issue. So it's always good to talk to people, good to explore what they have been through, especially given that again ये बहुत ज़्यादा prevalent है in a society like ours, in or a community like ours, and when I say ours, I mean Roorkee as a whole, right? 8,000 people vying for the same kind of jobs, vying for the same kind of, I don't know,
And they're all habituated to
popularity.
being the best in their own circles, and they suddenly come to this
Exactly.
place where everybody is incredibly good, and suddenly
Yeah.
you are just another kid on the block, and it's very weird. It's
Yeah. I
definitely.
mean, and especially for your batch and the people who come after me, right? My juniors in general, I cannot imagine how difficult this must be. Having to go through the entire pandemic during your last year, unsure where you'll get placed, unsure where you'll end up after, or even if you will graduate, what happens after that. And I see all of these people posting pictures of their provisional degrees and being extremely emotional about not having any closure to probably I'm not going to say the best 4 years of your life, but most
Most
easily the most eventful years of your
yeah.
life, right? So I can't express how empathetic I am, but at the same time, don't normalize it by thinking ki, uh, you know, uh, everyone else is going through this, so I might as well get better. I mean, to be very honest with you, I've had conversations with juniors where people are like, ki, yeah, I'm going to lose my internship with, I don't know, name a company,
People have lost their
Google, whatever.
internships at prestigious
Yeah,
universities abroad.
exactly, and that's
So
what I've said, right? When people come at me and say कि यार मेरा हैदराबाद में एकदम बढ़िया interns है, and I say, bro, I know people who are going to go to Switzerland and they can't, so just your problems are not as important. And I have been that person, but at the same time, uh, you need to understand that I'm one of those friends that I was talking about earlier. I'm as stupid as you are, which is why you shouldn't listen to me. You shouldn't listen to your friends when they say that, dude, everybody is going through the same thing. It's okay, it's normal, it'll get better. If you think things aren't good, uh, try to fix them. Don't be, I don't know, indifferent to the entire world, thinking कि हाँ सब के साथ यही हो रहा है. Again, cue the disclaimer, but that's just my personal opinion. Uh, these are tough times, uh, especially again for people who are graduating this year or getting into college this year, or anyone who had some hopes and dreams for 2020 in general, and they were kind of postponed to postponed indefinitely, I must say. So, yeah, I mean, uh, I don't know, like take your time, uh, but these are tough times, and try to fix the entire, normalization wala part, especially that is very prevalent in Turkey.
I think we can come back to your career path. Just one more thing that I would probably want to add.
Yeah,
I think this is, as far as I know, everybody has different ways of reacting to things. So maybe he couldn't sleep at night for days. Some of you might just sleep a lot. You have to listen to. I think that is how it is. Again, I'm not a mental health expert, but I'm only trying to make sure that people don't benchmark uh, their reactions with his reactions, right? Like for my part, I stopped eating for a while, and I had huge nutritional deficiencies at one point of time. I'm not saying I was depressed. I don't know what clinical depression is, honestly. I have not been diagnosed, but I have gone through a very shitty time last year, and मेरे पास a severe nutritional deficiencies हो गया था. I was on supplements for 3 months straight, and मतलब my whole body was bad shape, and I used to sleep for hours. ठीक है, तो हर इंसान डिफरेंटली करता है डील चीज़ों के साथ में. तो मतलब डोंट
right,
बेंचमार्क योर रिएक्शन with our reaction and tell yourself कि नहीं हमारा तो इतना severe नहीं है, या I have not
right,
I am able to sleep for nights इसलिए important नहीं है. I think that's what you were saying
right.
with
I mean,
normalization.
uh, yeah, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but the peanut analogy comes very handy to me. Not everybody is allergic to peanuts. Some might be allergic to cheese. This is a sad way to live your life, by the way, but you know, uh, I don't know. Just one size doesn't fit all. Try to ensure that you have enough information about yourself. Be aware of your mental health, especially in times like these. And coming back to there's nothing wrong absolutely in being overly ambitious and pushing yourself to the brink of depression just because you're not getting to where you want to. Uh, that's not something I wouldn't advise to do. Being insecure about your achievements, being insecure about your success, definitely has motivated a lot of people. But at the same time, be a little aware. Uh, I know I sound like a
That one.
preacher, but I'm just trying to be, you know, that's the entire motivation that I had when I was helping run the student mentorship program as well, right? Uh, Obviously, there have been challenges in terms of SMP cost structure as a whole because people start to use it only to gain insights about your career from your seniors. But I don't know I don't think that was uh, my vision, at least when I was uh, at the helm of the SMP initiative in my final year. Uh, but yeah, even if you think as I don't know, uh, members of the campus, that you can do something better to ensure that people aren't struggling with mental health, like do that. Like even if it's as simple as writing a blog or coming up with an Instagram page so that you can talk to seniors. Whatever helps you, whatever helps your your fellow, क्या क्या कहते थे, IITians नहीं, Thomsonians, sorry,
I'm so
whatever
nice.
helps your
I
IITians,
don't know why they call
whatever.
it that.
Whatever helps your fellow Thomsonians, ensure that you try to do that. But yeah, first help yourself, obviously. But yeah.
Actually, this reminds me of something. Our land as a term for roadkie. Did we come up with it in Watch Out, or was this a term prevalent or something? Like, does
So
everyone call it our land?
in general, nobody knows who comes up with terms, but whatever is cool, Watch Out claims it. So that's just, I don't know. In all honesty, I don't know who came up with Ireland. I don't know who came up with Chapo, but uh,
Like Chapo, I know has a
that's like
long
it.
history.
Yeah, no, but so does Watch Out. So, so yeah.
We will move back to Rathi's career. What is it that you love the most about your job? About what you do, your profession, basically.
You mean apart from the money, right?
Yes. Yes. You have very subtly
uh,
expressed that you are rich, but we shall move past that.
No, I mean, I didn't mean to imply that, but the best part of any job is the money, definitely. But I mean, yeah, what I meant to say was, if I wasn't paid, I wasn't going to be going to be doing this gig or whatever. But yeah, the best part is obviously, uh, you know, the fact that the real world, uh, में जो कुछ हो रहा है, that translates very quickly to the financial markets, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely love the real time uh, issues that I've been seeing and trying to fix. Like I'll give you an example, right? I work with something called commercially backed mortgage securities, and these are basically, I don't want to turn this into a lecture, but essentially whatever money comes from all these commercial real estate, right? Shopping malls, airports, uh, that helps other people make money by the magic of finance. Uh, as soon as COVID hit, within a week, uh, things within the commercial real estate market went crazy. We saw hotels in New York have extreme reactions to the entire pandemic, and that was when I kind of realized, okay, wow, this is larger than it seems. It's not just, it doesn't just imply work from home for people like me. It means that people are going to lose their jobs. And as a person, that definitely was one thing that kind of drew me towards finance, is the real world implications of it, right? I mean, poverty is such an issue across the world, and the thing that can solve it the best is kind of reassessment of the policy in general, and reassessment of our economy in particular. So those are all things that I want to kind of pursue in the future as well. Ensure that my knowledge for finance doesn't go towards making large firms a lot of money, But it's again been a motivation for me for a while, and this particular role has helped me understand why that is very very important.
You
So
want to help people.
that's yeah. I mean, again, I know for a fact that I'm too tiny of a person to ensure कि oh मैं बड़ा impact करूँगा. But let's go back and think about how ambitious I am. So that's always been what I think कि हाँ ठीक है. Maybe through whatever I've learned through my tenure at JP Morgan, and then in the future whatever I do, one day I might be able to, I don't know, do good to the community through working towards eradicating poverty or working towards better education for the world. Those are definitely my motivations. And like I said, JP Morgan is kind of helping me get closer, simply because it's a huge firm with a lot of people, with a lot of different insights, and I get to learn from all of them. And I get to simply feed all of that knowledge, since I'm probably the youngest person in every team that I've been in, right? So that's the best part.
So apart from the whole mental health thing, what other lessons have been, say, the major lessons of your life so
Ah, well, I'll have to think. That's a good question. Uh, I think, yeah, I think apart from the mental health thing, what I did, I mean, it's kind of related to the mental health thing, obviously, but I have seen that it is increasingly important to kind of help people, uh, not just uh, in terms of talking to them and ensuring that you're there for them when they need to talk to someone. I mean, but in general, right? It doesn't matter what you do as long as you see, I don't know, people benefit off of it. And again, that's my personal opinion. I think that has been a good learning so far. That has kind of changed my priorities a lot towards what I want to do in the future, what I want to do in the present. Uh, so yeah, I mean, that's one lesson that I definitely think has been instrumental in terms of at least post college life. Um, during college, dude, there's so much that I learned. Uh, I mean, simple things like good habits, like taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, ensuring that you talk to people, ensuring that you have a mentor, ensuring that you have guidance in general. Good habits like those have definitely been a huge part of my life in Roorkee. Uh, but yeah, I owe a lot to watch out in general, as I'm sure you've heard through my extremely passionate speeches with watch out. And I've always been passionate about the things that I knew I was good at, and watch out was definitely one of them. Man. I mean, so yeah. Oh, one very important learning is definitely have a hobby. Like I know Roorkee के environment में hobbies like competitive coding and hobbies like content management and hobbies like designing uh, become very famous simply because they translate into a better career. Or, I mean, not a better career, or careers in general, right? But have a hobby like playing a musical instrument. Have a hobby like reading things that are not close to your, I don't know, uh, education in general. Uh, because that's definitely something that would have helped me. You know, knowing how to play the piano would be a good distraction to kind of calm me down, and that's what I picked up very recently again. Uh, Playing basketball with my friends again before the social distancing thing happened uh, helped a lot. So yeah, have a hobby, man. I mean, I can't stress this enough. Not just within college, even after it. I know people who started to learn how to ride horses and stuff, and that's very cool. But you can have a simple hobby like trying to start reading again. Uh, but yeah, that's one advice, I guess, that might not make sense to a lot of you who are in college right now, because it might, because I know like my second year में होता और कोई आके मुझे बोलता कि bro learn how to play the guitar, मैं बक मेरे को intern लगानी है. But in general, in hindsight, I feel like that's very important.
Yeah. This has been great. Thank you so much. And
Sure. Okay. I mean, it was really nice talking to you and through you to all the folks that are hopefully listening until now. Uh,
hopefully,
yeah. Please feel free to reach out to me in case you need any help. I might not respond immediately, but I definitely try to be there for people, my fellow Thompsonians. So yeah, feel free to drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to help you.
so sweet.